All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the second episode of the Phoenix Insider, where we talk about all things mobility, innovation, health equity, and the work that we're doing to break down barriers to transportation. My name is Valerie Leffler, and I'm the founder and executive director of Phoenix Mobility Rising. And we are on a mission to provide mobility solutions for the health and well being of every person in every community. And as we're getting started on our first few episodes of this show, we're going to be highlighting members of our leadership team and community development team. And as the old saying goes, people don't care how much they know until they know how much you care. We're kicking off the Phoenix Insider by sharing about our team and sincerely how much they care about the work that we do at Phoenix. And as an organization, our core values are collaborate, innovate, empower, and we work hard to rise together. And that goes for our team, our partners, and the communities that we support. And as it always goes, I'm just never ceases to amaze me the passion and the heart and the talent that our team brings every day. And I'm honored to have on our show today Kate Schramm, the Director of Partnerships. So let me bring her on board. Hi, Kate. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing great. Thank you.
So, as we get started, can you share with the audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, I was born and raised in South Dakota. And after college, I moved to West Virginia, spent about 6.5 years there, and then decided when it was time to start a family that I wanted to be back in South Dakota so that we could raise children around their grandparents and be in a place that was familiar to me and in a place I appreciated my upbringing and could give that to my child as well. I've been really fortunate in my life to have a lot of doors open to me with my profession. It's interesting because I studied hard, I worked really hard in school and got good grades, and then thought that was the ticket. But what that actually does is it provides all these options like, oh, here's an avenue, you could go this way, you could go this way. And I'm the type of person that is not good with decisions. So, in that, I have kind of bounced around a lot. So, I've worked in education. I taught high school chemistry. I worked for nonprofits, a community action agency doing human services work. I have been with a youth organization, a large religious organization, in and then a tech startup, and now I'm working with Feonix. And so the glue that kind of holds it all together is I've always just been really passionate about ensuring relationships are important in what I do and caring for people.
Absolutely. And I think, when I talk to different individuals in the field, it's like very few people are, when you get out, you go into, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to work in transportation, human services coordination. Like you don't hear that, right? It's like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a lawyer. I want to, and I think when I was working with the Federal Highway Administration, we were creating videos of all these like top leaders across the United States in transportation. And I don't think a single one of them, when they were in high school and even many times in college, thought they were going to work in the transportation industry. And so I think it's so cool that as we're learning about each member of our team, literally none of us, me included, grew up in high school being like, I want to be in transportation when I grow up. So very cool. And so, all of that being said, Kate, what are some of these great resources or words of wisdom that has really helped you along the way?
I have a few. One of them actually came from you, and that is focus on the why. Because I think in so many situations, the why will get you through. As long as you know why you're doing something, why something needs to be done, the how can be figured out, right? I firmly believe that. I think the how can always be figured out as long as the why is clear and the why is a good reason. So that has really been kind of a game changer for me. Also, I'm pretty attached to our tagline, work hard, rise together. So I know these are all really recent things because this is just since my time at Feonix, but Feonix has had a big impact on my professional growth and personal growth. And so I really do think that our tagline, work hard, rise together, just says it all, right? Like, not a lot of these challenges that we're working through in communities are really hard things. But if we all work hard on getting the solutions and trying to move through them, it is possible to rise together. Again, that connects back to, we're focusing on our why because we care about individuals, and it's important that all individuals have access through transportation. And then another piece of wisdom that, those are really heavy, and one that kind of keeps things light for me. One time I had royally screwed up coordinating a meeting, and I did not get the meeting invite, time zones, and the right people invited on the invite. And it caused a cascade of some scheduling problems and a delay in meeting. And one of the partners responded, "Ain't no thing but a chicken wing," when I profusely apologized to her. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, that just took all the weight off my shoulders because, yeah, it was just a meeting invite. It wasn't the end of the world, though it certainly had felt like it. And so now I try to look at things with, if it's really not a big deal, if it's an email, if it's a meeting, if it's, a misplaced comma, ain't no thing but a chicken wing, and try to just relax a little.
I absolutely. I think we need like a Facebook post with that. Ain't no thing but a chicken wing. And it is so easy to get lost in these small things at Feonix when we work in so many different venues. And I think that why, it goes back to, it is, to your point, so easy to get overwhelmed in the magnitude of some of the challenges that we're breaking down. In some of the communities, these barriers have been, decades, if not since the very beginning of that community's origin. And to think about that we're trying to adjust or change something that's been broken for 30, 40, 50 years, that doesn't happen overnight. And it does take everybody working together. So one of the things with Feonix is we're really passionate about health equity. What does those two words mean to you?
First, this is a huge soapbox issue for me. Since I was brought into the light by one of our Feonix board members, now I feel it's my duty to pass on this little nugget of information. And that is being really intentional about realizing the difference between equity and equality. So equality, meaning everybody has the same thing. Equity, meaning everybody has what they need to accomplish what you're after. So with health equity, it's really about, not everyone in the community needs access to the same resources to be well. Not everyone in the community needs access in the same ways or the same sort of hand up, if you will. But creating what each individual needs or a group of people need in order to have access to resources for health and well-being, that's how you address health equity. And that actually is really freeing because I think it's a lot more achievable to address equity than equality. Trying to get everybody the exact same thing is overwhelming, but trying to make sure that everybody has the same outcomes, that's a little more doable to me. And I can see steps to do that in communities. Did you mute yourself, Valerie? Or is it just me?
Here we go. So we are definitely live. So I wanted to open it up and just kind of put a comment out there for anybody who's joining us live. I see we've got some folks on the line. Please put some comments or some questions in the chat box, whatever platform you're watching this on, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Ask the audience. So what would you like to hear, or what question would you like answered from Kate? So thank you for tuning in. as we give our audience some time to brainstorm or think what question they have typing in here, because the internet takes a few seconds, can you share, Kate, a little bit about this new program that Feonix is launching called Ignite?
Yes, that's a great place to go after talking about health equity, right? Because Ignite is Feonix's program to address health equity. It's really looking at addressing health equity in communities by focusing on transportation access to fulfill needs like doctor's appointments, getting to the grocery store, social activities, and others. Those are just to name a few, whatever an individual needs to be well. The program is so unique because it involves massive collaboration between community leaders from private sector, nonprofit, government entities, you name it. Everyone really needs to come together to the table because all of those areas affect an individual's well-being. Ignite also includes technology support for the mobility coordination. So if we're trying to get people access to transportation, then we need to coordinate those mobility options. And technology is one of the tools we use to do that. And it's definitely a huge piece of Ignite. A reliance on data so that we can really see quantifiable impacts within communities. This is no longer just about, yeah, let's try something and, oh yeah, it feels like that might have worked. No, we need to see with data that we are having an impact on communities. Are we moving the bar forward? And if not, then we need to try something else. So Ignite's really about looking at the data. And at the end of the day, it's a guided group effort towards enhancing health and wellness in a community by thinking outside the box, drawing on uncommon resources, and making really bold moves to change communities. It's a huge program and a lot to describe. So in this one, I really do encourage anyone interested in hearing more about Ignite to visit Feonix's website, go to one of our webinars on Ignite, or contact me because I love to talk about it and could spend the rest of the time talking about Ignite.
Yeah, it definitely was a culmination of learning, the time that we've spent in this industry, but also the unique experiences of every single member of our team and the different expertise and perspectives that they bring into this and to the work that we do. So, Kate, as the first team member at Feonix, so when Feonix started, when I founded Feonix, Kate was the first person to join our team when I was just trying to think about who do I know who could come to this organization and literally light us on fire and help get momentum going. It was Kate. And so when you look back over your time, what would you say is most impactful to you about our growth as an organization?
It brings tears to my eyes when I do look back because, I remember some of those early days were really pretty difficult, right? When we started, I remember one of the first questions I asked you was, well, yeah, I'd love to join you on this. Is it a real thing? Is everything set up? Do we have salaries? And it was like, well, not the salary part, maybe not really, right? So we could land some contracts, and I look back at that and just how scary it was to take that bold step. But those memories are incredible, and how one thing led to another, and all the dots truly, people love to say everything happens for a reason, and you really can't see that until you look backwards. And so now 3.5 years, almost 4 years into being with Feonix, it's true. One dot led to another, led to another. Sure, there were a few outliers, but those taught us something too, right? And now we're at this place where the trajectory of where Feonix can go and what we have been able to vocalize about the need for transportation and bringing all those pieces together, it's overwhelming to look at the beginning to now.
So we have a few pictures that we would love to share about the early days. So let me pull those up while we're on here. Okay, let's see if I can articulate this here. Is this going to work? All right, Kate, what is this? What is going on here?
This is where I really start to kind of get curious.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We drove. You and I got in a car and we drove. Me from South Dakota picked you up in Nebraska, and we went down. One of our very first partners was the Center for Independent Living in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I was probably 7 months pregnant.
Yeah, and that's a drive. I think it was 17 and a half hours from Lincoln, Nebraska, and you come 3 hours almost. So it was almost a 22 by the time you count stops, hour journey. And I don't remember if we even stopped. It was
very rarely. Anyone who travels with me knows that's the case. We need gas. Okay, you better get your food and take care of your bathroom here too, because that's it.
There is no luxurious here, folks. We are get in and get out and get on the road again. So here's another one of my favorite pictures.
Yeah, I love this one. So this was in South Carolina, and we had been in Texas and then flew to South Carolina, but we had to change our flights and get out of Texas earlier because there was some severe weather, hurricanes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And then by the time we got over to South Carolina, there was actually a hurricane heading into inland, expected to affect South Carolina as well. But we had a meeting set up with the VA, and we did not want to miss that meeting. So you can tell it was extremely windy and it was raining.
And I think there was legitimately like a hurricane warning that day. And we're driving and it's raining. But being two gals from the Midwest, we're like, this ain't that bad. It's a little windy, having no idea how bad it could get. But the VA was still on. Like they were still like that. We were like, are you guys still good? I mean, when you're meeting with the president of the board for a VA hospital, that is like a miracle meeting in and of itself to get on the calendar. And so we're like, hey, we're going.
And this was the last trip. That South Carolina trip was the last trip before my son was born. So I was 8 months pregnant at that point and then stopped after.
Yeah. I'm such a great team member.
It was wonderful. Oh, it was so many good memories. And of course it was raining because it's always raining when I'm driving for Phoenix.
Yes.
And so then this is a really great memory too, because after Paxton was born and I came back from maternity leave, we had a team meeting, but I was a new mom and I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to go down to Lincoln and leave my son for a couple days. He's just a baby. And so Valerie, of course, being family focused in the way that you are, you're like, well, just bring him. I'm like, really? To our staff retreat? You're like, yeah, sure. So he even signed our very first Phoenix created piece of artwork as one of the team.
That was amazing. I remember him. He was and still is absolutely adorable and made a great addition to the staff retreat, without a doubt. Okay. And what is this, Kate? So explain this really quickly, and then we'll go on to the next question.
Yeah, super quick. So this is part of when I would go down to Lincoln. Our office has those automatic lights that pop on when you go into a room. Well, for a baby napping who is he was not a great sleeper. He needed total dark and his sound machine. So we would put him under the desk to get it as dark as possible and put his sound machine under there with him so that he would nap while we were working.
Fantastic. That's innovation right there. Working mom pro. So, all right. So let's ask the next question here, Kate. What is the strangest place you've ever taken a Phoenix phone call or a meeting?
So my Phoenix colleagues are probably sick of hearing this story, but it definitely is going down in Phoenix history. So it's the delivery room. I was it was early, right? It was early in Phoenix's days, and we were a small team, so we all wore a ton of hats. And we had a grant that we were trying to submit, an FTA grant with our partners in Columbia, South Carolina. And we didn't have all of our letters of support yet on the day that it was due. Well, that same day, 3 weeks early, is the day that my son decided to make his arrival. And so I'm in the delivery room, like calling partners saying, we really need this letter. And I used it to my advantage. I told them exactly where I was. I was like, and if you could send it ASAP, I'm not sure how much longer I'm going to be able to communicate and send emails. So it did happen. Every partner did send their letters, and we got that grant. So it was all worth it.
Fantastic. That's definitely above and beyond, to say the least. And I remember texting you going like, Kate, it's fine. Please focus on your baby and yourself. And you're like, no, just one more phone call. I'm fine. I'm fine. I was like, girl, you are crazy. So
Yeah.
on that note, what makes you feel inspired or motivated, Kate?
Yeah, a lot of different things, really. And one, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I do have a strong internal motivation to be my best self. And I will say, for anyone listening, I want to excuse Valerie or any of my other team members. They really did not try to make me do those crazy things when pregnant or in the delivery room. That was all me, and wanting to achieve my goals and know what I can do. I also draw upon motivation to help others. Sometimes I think a little bit too much, to the point where I can be a little bit meddling, trying to solve people's problems. But I really do have a strong pull. If someone brings up a challenge to me, I can't help it. I need to jump in and try to solve it. And then motivation by others. When I see other people that are out there rocking it at whatever they're doing, it really does push me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that person's so awesome. I want to be like that person, and try to make myself better.
Absolutely. I think the desire to help others and to see other people succeed, Kate, that you have is incredible. And I think so many times when we're having meetings with community partners in our mobility leadership circles, there are so many of these incredible, inspiring partners that it's like, oh my gosh, like Francois Booker T in South Dallas is amazing. And it's just like she walks into the room and you can feel the energy, and it's just amazing. So I second you on that one. Okay, now let's talk about a myth. What is one myth, Kate, in the mobility industry that you want to debunk? What is out there that you're like, well, for real, let me give you the DL?
I think this one we might be getting a little bit less on this one, but it's still pretty prolific. Technology is a magic wand. And we love our technology partners at Feonix, and we know they're good partners because they will agree with us in the statement that technology is a tool. It is not a magic wand. So many times, we come upon partners who will tell us, oh, we implemented this app, we tried this technology, and it's just not working. And it's likely not even because of the technology. It's just that the technology is a tool, and then you have to use it correctly. It has to be part of a bigger picture and a bigger puzzle of putting the mobility ecosystem together. An app is not gonna save the world.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that 100%. I think I always like to say technology is a power tool, and you need different tools for different construction projects. And sometimes you just need a hammer. You don't always need an app, or you don't always need a drill, so 100%. All right. So, how do you continue to learn in order to stay on top of things with your director of partnerships, as with your role as director of partnerships? So we work in so many different industries: transit, healthcare, human service, transportation, military, finance, you name it. How do you navigate all of these roles and areas of what we do at Feonix?
The biggest thing is to listen. So I fully admit that I am not an expert in all of the areas that our partners are experts in. And so I'm really intentional about listening to the communications, and then I'm guided in my professional development and in my future learnings by what I hear. So if a partner mentions something that I didn't completely understand, sometimes I can just ask them, right? It depends where the partnership is at. But otherwise, that's what I take back with me. And that goes on my list as the next thing that I need to look up resources to learn more about X. And often that looks like internet Google searching right now, consulting other professional colleagues that I have in the industry, but it really is just, I didn't really understand that. And it might come up again in conversation. I want to make sure I learn more about that.
Yeah. And it truly is, 1 minute at a time, and every partnership, there's just so many different moving pieces. What is one recent thing that you're like, I was working on this and I was like, what does that stand for?
So right now, my biggest one is trying to learn all about health insurance and health plans. So I think a lot of people probably can empathize with health insurance, and health plans are confusing. There are so many acronyms, there are so many options, and that world really intersects with transportation and mobility options, because access to healthcare is a huge thing that we deal with. And so we do work with a lot of health partners, be it the hospital systems or the insurance plan providers, individual physicians. And so I'm digging through, what is a managed care organization? What is an accountable care organization? What is an HMO versus a PPO? And how do they all play together? Because there are some really unique positions within some of those. Like an accountable care organization is really set up where our Ignite program is a perfect complement in an accountable care organization's strategic goals. And so learning about all of that to try to figure out how can we help each other, and how can we really do better for communities and individuals.
Absolutely. And I think that you're right. That is a very interesting space, and there's a lot of moving pieces, and it's very evolving as well. Because I think when we go back 5 years, even 3 years ago, it was a different marketplace than it is now, for sure. So if you could turn back time, Kate, and talk to your 18-year-old self, if we're talking about meet the partners and folks who are looking at, their future self, also want to go back and look at their former self, right? And say, if you could talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Yeah, my role as director of partnerships really has shown me this one. I've had the chance to interact with such incredible individuals, and all of their stories share a common thread. And it's something, now I see about my own life. And that is, don't get too hung up on your degree, get one, and then follow your heart. So I spent so much time in my past agonizing over grades, and making sure my grades were all A's, and what degree I was going to get, and what professional pathway I was going to follow. And it really it was so difficult to try to plan that all out, because I'm a planner, I'm an analyzer, and I had it meticulously planned. And then I moved across the country. And I thought I had a meticulous plan again, and I moved back. And so, I really see now that following your heart and figuring out, where can your talents best lend something to this world and contribute to those around you and make you feel like you're in the right space, then that's more important than whatever the degree or background is.
I will. I think I had degree, I think every semester on my transcript in my college education, I changed majors. So I started out in human resources, and then I went into education, and then I went into marketing, and then I just went in, and then I got married, and then I went into business administration, and I was done in 3.5 years. And I just was ready to be over. But if somebody ever pulls my transcript, they're going to be like, what? And I think I had these really like complex plans, but unlike yours, who were like really planned far out, mine were like, I was like 6 months at a time. And then I would like completely, change. I think they call that multi-passionate. I think there's a lot of folks at Phoenix who are multi-passionate. And I think you have to be to really enjoy the work that we do, because you have to love to see different elements of society, different elements of the work that we do, to really dig in. So, all right, as we close, and if there's anybody who has comments in the chat, please ask a question. We'd love to hear from our audience. But as we close out, and we end our time here in a little bit, what's one maybe favorite or memorable story that you would like to share about working at Feonix?
So I don't get to interact with passengers a whole lot anymore. In my role, I interact with amazing partners, but the passengers are the why, right? And so the passengers are what I look back to and for some inspiration. The very first passenger that I was involved with, there was a volunteer trip, and we were brand new. I mean, I think I'd been with the organization 2.5 weeks. And we did not have a volunteer available to transport this woman to her doctor's appointment. And it was a doctor's appointment about an hour and a half away from where she lived, and about 4 hours away from where I lived, or 5, and I picked you up along the way. So we said to each other, well, we really should get out there and see what our volunteer drivers are doing and what it's like, and interact with some passengers. So let's go do the trip. So you and I went together to pick this woman up and take her to her doctor's appointment. And it started out pretty crazy because, one, we had this long drive in front of us, right? Which was just like one trip. But also we couldn't find her house. Our GPS took us to a sawmill, and we were looking around like, this cannot.
I remember that. It was like, I'm pretty sure this is not where our house was. But it was like on the other side of the section, but the Google took us off. So that's where I think that was our first time we learned Google does not work in rural areas all the time.
Yes. And why we're advocates for what 3 words.
Yes, our what 3 words fans for sure.
Yes. So we called the passenger, and luckily she answered, and she said, oh, that happens all the time, and explained to us how to get there. Well, we picked her up, and she was the most lovely woman, but she really had a tragic story. So, she had a son, but he had a full-time job and wasn't always available to take her to all the places she needed to go. She could not drive. So to try to solve her transportation challenges, she had invited this person to live with her. In exchange, the person had said they would provide her with the transportation that she needed. That wasn't happening. And on top of that, the person had brought 12 dogs to live in the home. And this woman was just sort of stuck. And I remember her asking us, like, what would you do if you were me? And we didn't have a great answer, right? I mean, use us. Get rid of that roommate. But like, before we had a program for her, I don't know. And so she had some things she had gone through in her life, and she shared those with us in the vehicle. And that was really impactful, that she trusted us enough, hardly knowing us, to share those intimate details of her life. And then she's just a really memorable lady because she had these adorable mannerisms where she called me Katie, my lady. Every time she would address me, Katie, my lady, what do you think? It was so cute. And when talking about someone who had done something less than desirable, she would, shame, shame, shame. We should put them in the hall of shame.
Yeah.
That's a phrase that stuck with us. Not only that, but when we dropped her back off, She invited us in. She really wanted us to see her home, and she wanted to give us some strawberry jam. And we each took home a jar of strawberry jam. You can bet I ate mine, and it was the most delicious strawberry jam I've ever had. But yeah, just thinking, think about her when I think about our work and why we're doing it, because offering her a way out of that situation, life-changing.
Absolutely. And I think, we were taking her to go get a surgery that she had waited almost a year for, to try and get an appointment, to try and get to this healthcare. And it was all a ride. She needed to go an hour and a half to get to a hospital to have this procedure. And without a program like what we were supporting, it wouldn't happen. And I mean, she went to the lengths of bringing somebody into her personal home to help her get well. And she had just so many other things that she just shared with us. And it was like, you always wonder, certain people come into your life for a reason. And that woman definitely meant so much to us when we were first getting started. And we're like, are we doing the right thing? Are we crazy? Like, well, yeah, we knew we were crazy. But we knew at that moment we were where God wanted us, I think. And we were where we knew we could make a difference and impact individuals who needed support. So with that, Kate, I'm going to wrap it up here and say thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much. And to our audience, thank you so much for joining us, and look for more episodes of the Feonix Insider. Join us every Thursday. We're getting started sharing about members of our team and their passion and their work and what we do. And as we grow, if you have ideas of folks who you would like to see on our show, please invite them and share with us some ideas. But just thank you, everybody, so much for joining us. Subscribe to our channel to get notified about next episodes, and we will catch you next time. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks again, Kate. Bye-bye.